All right. Wanted to get in here quickly and talk on a Sunday afternoon about what a terrible day for New York baseball fans. Terrible, terrible day for New York baseball fans. And this is one of the reasons why spring training is just a farce. In many ways it is. In many ways it just takes away, in my opinion, from the enjoyment of the game, from the enjoyment of the regular season. So let's talk about what the situation is with the Mets and the Yankees, and we'll talk about what we can expect going forward and how it's going to impact the regular season. Thanks for joining us here today. Subscribe, hit the likes. My name is Rick. But if a baseball fan opened up any of the news sites today, or if they were plugged in yesterday, they saw some problems for the Mets and Yankees, big problems that could have lasting impacts throughout the regular season. I'll start with the Yankees. Garrett Cole has elbow issues. Second year in a row, having trouble. And this is specifically the problem with these long-term deals. It hardly ever works out in the later portion of those contracts. Definitely, this was a great one at the beginning. Relatively young, strong power pitcher. But in today's game, you never know what you're going to get the second half of those long-term contracts. And so now with Garrett Cole being down 6 to 8 weeks, I think that's what they said. That's going to be difficult for them. Or maybe I'm getting the 6 to 8 weeks confused with Francisco Alvarez, which we're going to talk about on the Mets side. But on the Yankees side, that's always difficult. When you start the regular season without your number one guy, that's going to be something the Yankees are going to have to contend with. And more than position players, starting pitching is really the main thing. Now, position players, obviously, Giancarlo Stanton, he's also suffering the injury bug. And so that's going to be something that, most Yankee fans, I think, have kind of moved on. But when you're talking about another injury, another long-term contract, he didn't sound great either. He didn't sound very optimistic. So that's something that the Yankees are going to have to deal with on both sides. Just taking a look here, seeing what they say about Garrett Cole. Well, let's see. He doesn't feel good. He said the imaging on his elbow has already been distributed and he's seeking second opinions. I've still got some hope. I'm just waiting for the experts to weigh in. A lot of question marks then with Garrett Cole. That doesn't sound very optimistic. Not optimistic at all. So the Yankees are going to have to suffer from that. I think that's a much bigger loss than a position player. But if you're a Mets fan, Mets are going to be in some difficulty as well because they're going to be without their starting catcher, Francisco Alvarez, for 6 to 8 weeks. And that's a big loss for them. 23 years old, formerly the number one prospect in baseball, has been an exciting, integral part of the Mets. And now he's going to be out, breaking a bone in his left hand on a swing. Of all the things a catcher can injure himself with on a routine swing, possibly it was something that he hurt prior and it just exacerbated on the swing. But he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So now the Mets are going to deal with the backup situation. You never want to lose a position player, but specifically a catcher, this is going to affect your starting pitching staff. There's no question about it. And so that's going to be a difficulty the Mets are going to have to struggle with this year. So you wake up on a Sunday afternoon. It's March 9th. You've got a few weeks to go until opening day. And if you're a Yankee fan, you know you're going to be without your ace probably on opening day. And there's a lot of question marks. If you're a Mets fan, you're going to be without your starting catcher for a couple months. And they did say that they expect it to be the latter half of that 6 to 8 weeks. So difficult times for New York baseball fans. But let's talk about where they go from here and how this is going to impact their season. I remember 25 years ago, out at a restaurant late at night, actually standing in the parking lot, having a conversation with a premier baseball scout, and this gentleman is now an upper level executive in Major League Baseball with one of the ball clubs. And we talked for probably 2 hours standing in this parking lot. And what we were talking about was the New York Yankees. At the time, I was working for the Yankees AA team, broadcasting in Norwich, Connecticut. And he said to me, the New York Yankees, and specifically Brian Cashman, is the most prepared, diligent, and ready general manager of anyone in Major League Baseball. This is what he told me. That was his opinion of Brian Cashman, who had a great reputation then and still does. So if I have any thought about where the regular season is going to end up, I never doubt the New York Yankees and what they're going to do to be able to fill holes, fill some gaps, add what they need to add throughout the season. Never have a question about that with the New York Yankees. On the Mets, with David Stearns, the Cohen regime has shown they're willing to spend money, certainly in the offseason. They brought Alonso back, Juan Soto, obviously the long-term deal for Francisco Lindor. A lot of it comes down to pitching with the Mets. Interestingly enough, seeing some of the success yesterday, a couple great innings by Jacob deGrom in Texas, and also a really nice spring outing by Max Scherzer. However, I predict that both of them will not have stellar seasons because of the injury bug. I think with the workload that deGrom had early in his career, I think the Mets were very wise in parting ways at that time with Jacob deGrom. And Max Scherzer, as great, they're both great guys, but Max Scherzer is at the downslope of a career, and a couple great innings in the spring doesn't make a solid season. So I think those guys are. I wish them the best. I hope they have great seasons, but I wouldn't expect it. So I think my point about the New York Mets is that on their side, I think the New York Mets are there's much a bigger question as far as what they're going to do, because this regime has not yet been tested in that way. In the Bronx, the Yankees always find a way. They find a way to go out, make something happen, sell something from the farm system, take on a big contract, spend some money, and fill in a gap if it's gonna help them in October. The New York Mets don't have that. The New York Mets don't have that track record yet, and maybe that'll change. Maybe that's going to change this year. Who knows? I mean, we've seen an awful lot of change with this Mets franchise, just from the Buck Showalter years and now to where they are now, heading into 2025. So I would say it's a tough day for New York Mets fans and for New York Yankees fans. If I'm a Yankee fan, although that news is worse with Garrett Cole, I have confidence that things are going to have a way of working out in the regular season. If I'm a Mets fan, I think there's a lot more question marks, even though the loss might not be as great, as big of a loss as Alvarez is. I think there are still many more question marks as far as what the Mets are going to do to make that up. So not a great day if you're a New York baseball fan. Thanks for joining us today. Just wanted to talk about that quickly. Make sure to subscribe, like the channel, like the video. Make sure you're connected with us for our future videos. We've got a great one coming up tomorrow about sports broadcasters earning a bunch of money. So hopefully you'll be here for that. And thanks for joining us on a Sunday. I'll catch you next time. Take care.